Are we reloading? Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah, let's do it. Alrighty. People of Earth, second time we're running it because of some technical difficulties, but we're here. Welcome to the show. Today, we have the founder of ClusterFest Events, former VP of Events Marketing, of Special Events Marketing at ESPN, Special Event Sales at MSG, and renowned Jets fan and chef, as we just heard, Peter Rosenberger. Thank you for coming on the show, man. Glad to have you here.
My pleasure, Tef. I love talking to people who are on this planet, and that's a great thing. So excited, man. What? Let's dive right in, as they say.
Heck yeah. So, my first question. In 1989, you graduated from Hunter College with a degree in film and media studies. Then you end up in the world of event management and marketing. So, like, how did you initially end up in the event space? And was it was it calculated, or was it more like you tried on a new hat one day and you decided you liked it?
That's a terrific question. I would candidly say it's probably all the above. What happened was my ambition at that point was to be a film director, and my goal was, okay, I'm going to make movies. So I'm still passionate about film and the film industry. And the reality was, when I'm in Hunter College in the city, I lived on the Upper East Side, a studio apartment, blah, blah. Rode my bike back and forth to Hunter until it got stolen while I was at the library reading some Shakespeare or something. It's just right there in my mind, like, mother, took my bike. I'm like, damn it. So, continued from there. And then there was I've always been a performer. So I had done theater throughout, community theater. I was in the Air Force right after high school, rather. So, I had that background in performance and that passion for that. So ultimately, the decision I made at that time was, do I stay in front of the camera or do I jump behind the camera?
Mm-hmm.
So studying the film was that behind the camera, obviously. And I just felt like it wasn't maybe out of my system yet, and I should give it a go. So from Hunter, I segued into stand-up, ultimately sketch comedy. We had three guys. We were called the Blue Collar Guys in the early 90s. And Blue Collar has maybe a different connotation with Jeff Foxworthy, that more of that redneck thing. We were like literally, union guys, hey, Tommy, Vinny, that whole thing, laborers, electricians, plumbers, those type of sketches grounded in that blue collar thing. Anyway, my partner, still one of my best friends and funniest guys I've met on our planet, is Eddie Pepitone. So I'll give you a quick plug for Eddie Pepitone. He's still out there. He was in the movie Old School, other sitcoms. He's done a lot of featured stuff, and now he's basically a road comic, successfully touring the country. Oh man, for the last probably 5 to 10 years even. So if you want to laugh, go to eddiepepitone.com. That's my plug for my brother Eddie. So
Eddie
we
Pepitone.
did the sketch thing for about 4 years together. I like to say we made it to AAA. We had a couple of auditions for the big leagues, and there was a time we auditioned for Bill Maher and some other folks who were still relevant today. Again, this was 30 years ago now, honestly.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't cross that bridge. It's hard. Let's put it that way, right? The bridge is very narrow. And Eddie was one of these guys. He had no other choice. Eddie could not string together a career, whereas myself and Johnny, our other partner, we had a different skill set. So we could parlay our whatever talent elsewhere. So the concurrent part of that was waiter, bartender, New York City, actor, struggling, comedian, etc. So that led to the position at Madison Square Garden. So I started there as the maitre d' at the Club Bar and Grill. They offered me the manager position. And then from there, it became, the next step was working on the sales side, doing event sales and meeting the clients who were using the facilities at the Garden. And then the whole building became Purview. So I quickly, in the span of 2 years, really went from maitre d' to event sales manager, where I'm talking to the HBOs of the world, the Pearl Jam post parties, those type events, pre, post corporate events. And I just knew that one of my clients would probably be my next opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it shook out. So quickly on the event side, segueing from sales after roughly 4 or 5 years of doing that at the Garden, which is a grind and a great experience. Like talk about, sharpening your teeth, day to day, long hours.
You can do it at MSG. I feel like you can do it at any arena space, really.
Well, I mean, I honestly, from firsthand experience, I would agree. If you were at even Newark or God forbid Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, just kidding. But if you're in that kind of environment, you don't know what it really is to work, day in and day out. And the best time of the year for us was once the Knicks and the Rangers were eliminated from the playoffs, which usually was if they even made the playoffs. But there was a good run. The Knicks were in the finals in 1994,
It
98.
was 94 and 99.
The
If I'm
99.
looking there, right?
99. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Well,
And I was in the Club Bar and Grill and during the O.J. Simpson slow chase at that time.
mm-hmm.
And the game was on the floor at the Garden. And here we are in the restaurant that I was manager of with a crowd gathered to watch television while the Knicks were in the finals. It was like surreal at that point. It really was. So long story short, I should say getting longer. HBO was one of my top clients,
mm-hmm.
as was ESPN, the magazine. They had just launched in 98, I believe, the magazine launched. So my friend Cindy at HBO, who was there for 25 years, only left a handful of years ago during the COVID, period, let's say. Yeah, that thing, that little global pandemic thing. So Cindy, I talked to her when I had two opportunities on the table, trying to leave the Garden, not to leave, but just next step.
Yeah.
I was ready. Here we go. So there was a restaurant in the heart of Times Square at that time, the ESPN Zone. And this was a venture that lasted a few years, and there were several ESPN zones around the country. But the concept was, this big, massive sports bar and ESPN branded and blah, blah, blah. So they were hiring a general manager, and I thought, wow, okay, I'm the guy. Food, beverage, catering, restaurant manager, sales, parties. Yeah, I got the whole package. That's what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Not everybody thinks alike. But the other opportunity was the event position on the planning side for ESPN, the magazine. So I called Cindy at HBO and I said, listen, Cindy, what do we do here? I'm going to go for both, but if what comes through, I'm more comfortable in the ESPN zone environment, right? That's what I knew. Yeah. I'm not necessarily an event planner. I've helped hundreds of people plan their events. So she said, oh my God, no, it's a no-brainer. If you can be on the planning side and have a budget to work with to entertain people, that's where you go. So that's how I forayed ultimately to the point of becoming head of events at ESPN. From the magazine, they hired me after just a short series of interviews. And at the end of the century, it was 1999, I gave my notice. I started at ESPN, the magazine, in January of 2000 and was the senior manager of events. Then the big job, that was for the magazine. Then the big job at the network, I refer to it as, came open. So I lobbed in a call to HR and said, I'd love to be considered for this opportunity. They said, oh no, we have you on the radar. That's great. I'm glad you're interested, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward a few months, got the position offered, built a team of 12 people, and then was there for another 7 years or so. Well, end to end, probably about 8 years total. So great experience. And that's the opposite side. Now you're planning client trips, 350 people at the Super Bowl every year. Think about it. We were loading 7 or 8 buses with police escort from our host hotel to the stadium, in Houston, Texas. in San Diego, in Miami, in Indianapolis, whatever. It was very cool, and that's just one of many, many, many things. We could spend the whole time talking about that, but that's how I got here and to my business, ClusterFest Events, for the last 12 years.
Yeah, I've got some questions about the ESPN time and the ClusterFest Events founding. With your transition from sort of, I mean, the club suite or the club bar and grill at MSG, um, what do you believe set you apart in that environment that allowed you to transition into that event space?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I came in, and if I had to say, in a few words, it's really just the work ethic and commitment and yes and.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to this extensively with my students at NYU, is like yes and that's the foundation of improvisation, and that's where I got it from before I started with Eddie and the boys in Blue Collar Guys. So
Mm-hmm.
the premise of that, and if you put this into practice in your career, is yes and. So if the boss says, "Hey, I need you to pack 100 boxes, tape them up, and ship them off to Seattle," okay, boss, yes, I'll take care of that. And what else do you need?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always that adding that next step. So if you not just talk the talk, you walk the walk, as I did as Major D. Well, I came to work. I was there for about 6 months, and my boss, Mark Scanlon at the time, Mark sat me down in this tiny little office in the back of the kitchen in the bowels of Madison Square Garden. It couldn't have been 100 square feet. This office, 10 by 10, whatever. It was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And there were three of us, I guess, that kind of shared this space. It was a mess, just a stinky mess. So he closes the door, sits me down. I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? So I find out that Chef Paul, was our food and beverage director. He was the one who sat me down and said, "Hey, you got a minute?" I go, "Well, of course I do, boss. What do you need? I can't be doing anything more important than talking to you right now." He
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Well, I had to let Mark, my boss, go." He said, "I had to let Mark go today." I said, "Oh shit, what happened?" And I'll tell you, this is exactly what he said to me. He goes, "Well, it's very clear who's doing the work around here."
Mm.
And I said, like, wow. Okay. And then I felt a little bit of like, oh shit, did I cause the guy who brought me into the building to lose his job? Right? There's that, oh,
Yeah.
what did I do?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, well, Paul, I mean, well, Chef Paul, what? He said, no, 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 it's nothing. This is a compliment to you. You're doing your job, and it's clear that you're doing the vast majority of the work to run the ship here. So if you want the manager position, it's all yours. So as I conveyed it, that whole conversation was 2 minutes. And I'm like, wow. And at this time, I was right on that precipice of I'm still performing, but we can't cross that bridge I referenced. So it became like a real moment in my lifetime to say, all right, do I step off the sketch comedy train and hop on board this career train?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Hey, goes, come with me.
Kitty cat.
Yeah, he's not a boy. I got two of them. That's he's the fancy one. Oh boy, hold on a second.
I'll take your time.
Goodness gracious. Hopefully you can edit this thing.
Oh yeah, you're
Uh,
good. We'll edit it
okay.
out.
Okay, there you go. Audio connecting. Audio connecting. It says, hold on.
Heck yeah, I've
You can
got you
hear me.
over here. Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you
you
just
got me
fine.
here. Okay, good. Here it is. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that screen, I think. Usually they don't knock into things, but sometimes they like. It's a new toy.
Indeed.
Okay. Here we go.
Gotta
Okay.
figure out all the
Got it.
bells and
Perfect.
whistles and all that jazz. What's the cat's
Yeah.
name?
Turks and Caicos.
Turks and Caicos. You love to hear it. Those are some good
Yeah.
names.
That
Oh,
is our favorite place on earth, are the Turks and Caicos Islands, and been there. Oh my God, a dozen times in my life. I wish I had a house there, but that's a different level of spending that
yeah.
I'm privy to. But we go there a lot and just love it. So these are our boys. Hey, hey, hey! No!
That's awesome.
He's got me. I've got my headsets on the desk here. He's just like, oh, there's a new toy. Okay, okay. Zip, zip. All right, man. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, you're
So
good. No worries. Yeah, Turks and Caicos is beautiful. I mean, I've never been, but I want to go. I'll get there
yeah,
at some
I would
point.
if you when you're ready to go to the Caribbean, make that your first stop. That's what I would tell
Yeah, sounds
you.
good
Oh,
to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, like we're with like you were saying with the in 2000 you transition into being you go into special events. Well, in 98 that was when the magazine launched. Did you start with the magazine in 2000?
Yes, yes. So I
Okay.
was the senior manager at the magazine, and then I had mentioned the big job came open at the network.
Mhm.
Clarify that a little bit. The network position came open in about 2002. So that's when I just kind of raised my hand and said, actually, it was late 2001. I didn't get offered the position until a few months later. Like, it just took time to go through the process. Um, and I started that position in early 2002 with this Super Bowl in New Orleans was one of the biggest first events, and that was the one of the first major sporting events, certainly the biggest after 9/11 in
Mhm.
2001. So the
Oh yeah.
landscape in New Orleans 2002 was like a whole new world. It was a new frontier in major events, security, terrorist threats, perceived or otherwise.
Mhm.
So we were you know, on the brink of what we know today as standard operating procedures, whether that's metal detectors and, intense screening at airports and all that has been with us now for 20 plus years. But that was where it all began. So it was a real dynamic time, historically. We didn't think of it that way, although 9/11, of course, we knew that was a historical and tragic, beyond tragic event here in New York, and still is today. Honestly, we just marked it a month and a half ago, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, with the New Orleans Super Bowl in 2002, I feel like yeah, in hindsight that had to be another. I mean, you're a guy from New York. That close after the tragedy of 9/11, that had to be very so like what was your exact role in that? Do you have like any like memories from that like experience that were like, wow, this is I don't know that I mean, 23 years in the future now, you look back at it and you're like, that was unique to that time and sort of
yeah,
just a moment for you.
yeah. I mean, there were probably several things, but the one that really I want to say I'm happy, and it was a decision that I made at the moment that was the result of this, directly or indirectly, whatever. I think stands out in my mind. So picture going to the Superdome. So you're coming down Poydras. A lot of people, it's a real pedestrian. You walk down the block and it's a mile or whatever to the Superdome, and everybody on the planet who's going to the game, right? 80 plus thousand people are all kind of funneling, and like any major stadium, there are probably four, if not maybe six gates of entry. So if you
Mm-hmm.
take MetLife as the example that I know and am most familiar with, there's four main entrances kind of in each corner of the stadium. So as you're walking towards the Superdome, let's just say you hit the bottom right corner is where it leads you to. And, you look to the left and say, okay, well, if we walk another 50 yards to our left, there's another entry, maybe a little less people. But like most stadiums, people go where here's the entrance. Oh, shit, what a line this is. Well, I guess we have to wait. So what I did was lead our group. I didn't have 300 people on foot behind me. It wasn't that many people, but
Mm-hmm.
largely maybe half of that, that were kind of loosely following where we were headed. So we got to that, let's say, bottom right corner of the Superdome, and it was a mob scene. And again, it was heightened security post 9/11.
Yep.
Like when Trump just went to the U.S. Open in Queens, at the Billie Jean King Tennis Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then half of the people for the men's final, half of the audience missed the first set because heightened security. And we could talk about that it's another story for another cocktail. But that was something that could have been handled better at that specific event 24 years later. Yes, presidential security is as high as it gets. Okay, understood. Well, would you think you could manage that, having known 3 or 4 weeks in advance, have a better plan than inconvenience 10,000 patrons in a stadium that only holds 20,000?
Yeah, that also makes me wonder the level of notice that could have been that like I wonder how much notice was given by Trump and
Yeah, my
his.
my understanding from a friend who I just spoke to this week, who works at the USTA, told me they had roughly 3 weeks in
Oh, okay.
advance.
So yeah.
So it
Huh.
wasn't 3 days, it wasn't 3 hours, it was 3 weeks.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So and I take that as a fact. And so you would think, okay, they could manage that a little better.
For sure.
Also mentioned was that the security became like elevated to the level of like airplane security, TSA level. So you're turning the whole footprint of the tennis center into, an airline, check-in terminal thing. Okay, well, that's all great, but there were still, 50% of the attendees were, whatever,
50% of the
screwed.
attendees were what? They were just like in line.
Yeah, in line out in the plaza, the Grand Plaza at the tennis center, and it goes into the Arthur Ashe Stadium. And there wasn't a queue like a Disneyland, zigzag thing. There was none of that. It's just a big mob scene pushing in slowly, not mob pushing, but mob packed capacity
Yeah.
going in. They did some aerial photos on TV, and here's the crowd outside. I couldn't imagine how horrible that was.
And this was while the
And
matches were going on.
yeah, it was the men's final.
Jeez.
Alcatraz and Sinner, right? The most anticipated matchup, blah, blah. It happened. Here you go. They delayed the start of the match, I think about, I'm going to say roughly 30 minutes. We could check that, but it was probably about 30 minutes. It was delayed because of the inbound fog. It was a mess. I'm being gentle.
Mm-hmm.
And then the match started. And again, we watched this at home on TV. The match started, and they still showed aerial shots, crowd, stadium half full, plaza packed. I had a current student who was there. He said he missed the entire first set.
No way. Wow.
Yep. And
Did
he's not,
they did did
he's
the
probably one of thousands that missed the first set.
did the
That's
venue offer refunds to people that or partial
no,
refunds?
no,
No.
no,
Wow.
no. Now, and again, we can check to see if there was any, let's call it reparations to fans. Hey, we're sending everybody a hat or some leftover swag. That's what I'm thinking would make sense. Hey, if you've got like leftover swag, is kind of dead, right? So
Yeah.
if let's say they had 10,000 hats left over, send a hat to all your ticket buyers, and like a make good thing. I don't know if like I can't say for certain that none of that happened, but I really don't think it did. I don't think any of it did, honestly.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to look into that cuz I mean, I went to Bonnaroo this past June and
Yep.
that got rained out and I think that might honestly have more to do with climate change than really anything. A lot of people were disgruntled about the lack of a drainage system, but it's such a big area and when you get that much rain for that many days in a row,
Yep.
you can only do so much
Hmm.
to try and prevent that. But yeah, like on like basically we only got 1 day of the festival, and with the
Yes.
like one thing that was a pleasant surprise is everybody at that festival got a full refund, which
Oh,
uh which was cool. I didn't expect that. That was a pleasant surprise.
yeah, that's we can agree it's the right thing to do. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are a festival manager, you would have like cancellation insurance. So if 2 out of 3 days were canceled due to a monsoon, effectively,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the organizers cashed in their insurance policy to keep their fan base happy.
Yeah.
If they didn't have insurance, it's really out of pocket or out of the revenue generated. But again, if you're charging people $200, I'm just making up a number here, charge
Mm-hmm.
people $200 for a product or service that is not delivered, well, good business practice, hello, is give people back their $200.
Yeah. Because
you
it's
know so the, the point of the insurance is, well, at least I'm not losing. If I'm the organizer, I'm not losing my revenue because I've got expenses against it. We still had to set up the stage, set up the production, the lighting, the sound, the transportation, VIP tents. We had to do all that.
mm-hmm.
So why should the organizer go south for all that, financially? But again, it's case by case. And I
And
just want to finish the last thought on the
oh
New
yeah.
Orleans thing, because what actually happened then. So as I was saying, we approached this massive sea of humanity like the USTA. So I told the group behind me, I said, let's go to the other entrance. So again, we were approaching, let's call it the bottom right entry of the Superdome. I said, let's go to the top right. So we circumvented this big mess, went to the other corner entrance, which was not that far away, 50 yards or so. It was like from the corner of the end zone to the other corner of the end zone, not all the way 100 yards to the, what I'm saying here
Yeah.
logistically. So
Yeah.
we got to this other entrance, and it was like, I'm going to say 20% of the crowd at that big one. So all of a sudden, we just saved everybody by just trying a different entrance. And again, this went back to my experience tailgating for Jets games and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you don't have to take the first entry you see. You don't have to take the first beer stand you see when you get in. If there's 100 people in line at the bathroom, well, walk another 2 minutes, there's probably 10 people in line. So it was a little risky because if I was taking people to nowhere, and all of a sudden we're like, oh boy, you're in an Animal House moment where you're in the alleyway and you got to, turn around, we got walls everywhere. But it worked out great, and that's just an important thing, but it was also an important decision. So that's what I felt was just one of the great decisions that I've been fortunate to have made in a career that probably has millions of decisions,
Mm-hmm.
in the world of events and stuff over the last 25 years of my lifetime, even 30 years now. So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made on behalf of others.
Yeah.
Uh, so
That's cool
that
how
that
that decision you made sort of might have had more of an effect on your career than you would have ever guessed in that moment, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I cannot measure and that, but you're right. I mean, somebody probably said, you know what, that really helped the entire experience. And
Mm-hmm.
everything in the world of events, and I'll just throw this out there too. Everything is so subjective,
Yeah.
right? For every yes, there's a no. For every happy guy, there's a pissed off idiot.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. People see things from different perspectives, but you have to be able to factor that in, and at the very least, accommodate the most amount of people and make the most amount happy. It's like a 20-60-20 plan. 20% of the people are always happy or thrilled. I'm in that group. Yeah, I generally am happy. 60% are okay. Hey, this was good. This was fine. This was nice. And 20% at the bottom are like, well, why didn't they think of that? Oh, they could have done this better. Oh my goodness, we're paying this much money for a hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get that bottom 20 into the 60.
Yeah.
And as much of that you can do, that's what needs to happen as often as you can. And you're not going to win everybody over. And some you have to just leave just okay, because they'll grind you down. That bottom 10. of that 20,
Oh yeah,
you
you gotta
know?
be loud.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah. And it's hard sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
if your practice and your preparations are good and thought through, diligent, all of that good stuff, you've done your homework, as they say, you know, then you have to just have confidence and execute the plan.
Mm-hmm.
There's always you have to be nimble, change on the fly. Hey, we're going to go this way instead of that way. But also give that some thought, even if it's only 2 minutes of thought, especially if
Yeah.
you've spent days or weeks on your initial plan, sometimes more than that, months or even years. And you say, well, we have a great plan. Well, things change,
Mm-hmm.
but don't let the wind blow you around.
Yeah.
No, don't you have to sometimes you're going to have headwind. That's a good analogy for this whole thing. You're going to have headwind, get through it. There's another one of those phrases, right? If you're in hell, you're walking through hell or going through hell, just keep walking, right?
Yep.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep going. Keep going. And I think that's for anybody in the event business, that's sound advice in general.
For sure. I think, yes, like now that at this point in my life, I'm trying to get into the events industry for sure. And then beyond that, I mean, if I never decided to keep walking, reminds me of this Denzel Curry song. Uh, if I never decided to keep walking, probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you today. I would have been
Mhm.
somewhere else. So, like, yeah,
Yep. There
definitely
you go.
keep that. Like, one thing I live by is also following your heart because I think one thing that so many people my age fall into is, I mean, it's kind of ironic because, like, I mean, with the event planning, it's people pleasing in a different way. Like, it's like we're in the business of people, but I mean, so many people worry about paths that they don't even they will go on a path that they don't even want to go on to please other people or their parents or whoever. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. People, if you're watching,
It's
follow your heart.
Yeah, I agreed. And I talk about that in school a lot. Two things: passion, right? If you have a passion for something, music, I don't know, food, cooking, anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, follow it. Whether it's a hobby or you can actually turn that into a livelihood and a living, a career, even better, right? So I think that's important for young folks, young people like you on the brink of what direction. You're at a crossroads. We all hit that crossroads. What am I going to do next?
Yep.
Um, where is this road going to lead me versus, the path less traveled? And my moment was in that little tiny office with Chef Paul when he told me, hey, it's clear who's doing the work around here. If you want the manager job, it's yours. I'm like, okay, whoa. I was still I was still on the I want to be I want to be a comedian thing. I
Yeah.
have to give it up. If I take this position, I'm going to have to give that up. And now I can look back and say, geez, I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
Now back to my buddy Eddie, he had no other choice, like I said. So, but he's parlayed that into a great career. Financially, he's a celebrity. He's got his following, if you will, his audience, and he's gotten to see the world through his comedy, travel. And there's a grind to that, of course. Everything's a trade off. The other thing I tell my students too is a lot, and other colleagues, shall we say, and I hate this one, but I have to use it because it's like lower your expectations. Everybody, for the most part, and you alluded to that a bit here, Tiff, was, everybody expects this or this should be great, and why that and why not, this, and you know things aren't perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and we have other uh, conflicting forces in play right now in our country. It's a tough time, politically, as is the obvious thing, but also integrity is challenged. What's true? What isn't true? Lies. You know, in in my time, which is not, we're not talking about, 100 years ago here,
Yeah.
but it is a quarter of a century. 25 years ago, the truth was important and the truth mattered. And now I worry what, like your career, when you're sitting in my seat 25 years from now, talking to some young kid with the next generation of whatever a podcast will be then,
Mm-hmm.
right? Podcasts and things, things are going to change, right? There will be something new, probably 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 25 years from now, whatever that is. You'll be teleporting yourself like Star Trek back in the 60s. Wouldn't that be great? But something like that's going to happen. You'll be in my chair and go, wow, what did happen to the truth?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a science fiction thing. Everybody lies. Everything's untrue. If you're not happy, just say it didn't happen. I don't know if that's sustainable.
No. Because if we go through life not acknowledging our experiences, especially the ones that, I don't know, require thought,
Yep.
we're barely living at that point. And yeah, we are living through this age of, like, it's a return of this, like, sophist thinking. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about because we're living it.
Yeah.
I don't know, with the mix of AI and media and news being tailored to all these different points of view, like you said, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I worry about that stuff too, and I hope that I don't know, I believe that enough people my age and my generation care to make a difference,
Yep.
and we've always seen it through. The sky has never fallen before, so
Mm-hmm.
I
I know.
believe that there will be a brighter tomorrow with all that.
Yes, and we have to believe that. If we don't, God help us. But
Exactly.
I'm with you 100%. We have to believe, and right now, the walking through applies. We are walking through. I'm going to say like a form of hell right now in our
Yeah.
country. And I don't dwell on this too long, but we've got to keep walking. We got to keep fighting the fight. We've got to get through this one way or another, because the momentum on the other side, you know, it I won't say it's building. I'd like to hope that
It's
it's
definitely intensifying.
it's intensifying, and it's like there's too many. There's it's sad that there are too many people supporting this. I'll call it a regime
Yeah.
right now. This administration, and you know, it, I find it sad when I've seen presidents, great presidents in my lifetime, and some average presidents. Pick the ones you like. Whatever, from Reagan to Jimmy Carter to Clinton or Bush. Hey, they all had their ups and downs, but in their own way, they were all qualified and presidential.
Yes.
When you've got a Fox TV host running our military, what has happened here? And how did this guy, Keg's Breath, I call him Pete Keg's Breath.
It's good.
It's the only way I can square him up.
I'm gonna start
How did
using
he
that.
get approved by our Senate, by our elected officials? This is like, that's where I just lose. Like, how could you? That's like, I can't. That's like a guy who runs a pretzel shop, and you're going to put him in the Michelin top restaurant of the world as general manager. I run a pretzel store. It's a little really a pretzel stand, but I could run, what's the place in Copenhagen, the best restaurant in the world.
It's not
You
even
get out of here.
pretzels. It's at that point.
Yeah,
It's like, do you want to become the
whatever. Yeah,
CEO of an airline? Like,
Yeah, exactly. You're going to run Delta Airlines now. You did go with the pretzel shop. Why don't we give you an airline to manage?
There are pretzels on airlines, so yeah, there are
Yeah,
pretzels on
yeah.
airplanes.
There you go. I can do that. And then the Senate's like, he can do that. I'm like, oh my God. All right, we digress here. We
Yeah,
digress.
we have digressed. But yes, like my final thought with that is like, I mean, outside of the horrible stuff that's happening with ICE and whatever, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of that. I just think that our politics today, in everything, in my opinion, is political. Our sports, our culture, it's political, and it's with what's going on right now in America. Because I live in America, I don't know exactly how it is in Europe, but it's lacking the nuance and thought that it once did. In my opinion, we just need to get back to decency, and we're inching back in that direction. And honestly, that's part of why I want to go into events, because I mean, well, I'm super passionate about politics, and I will talk and talk and talk about it. I could not do what, say, Zoran Mamdani's doing right now, or any of those, any of our young politicians, our AOCs, whoever. But
Yep.
I think that one thing that's brilliant about event planning and awesome about this is it reminds us how that we're able to connect on these simpler things, and it reminds us that, hey, we are all human beings, we are all Americans. It's because, I mean, I'm sure we know about like the party over country stuff that's happening, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's all there. And something like 9/11, to do a callback there, 9/11 brought Americans together. Through grief, we found some compassion, some empathy for our neighbors, for our colleague. And there was a moment, which lasted a few years, I would argue, where, we really felt like, hey, we're going to be okay if we do this together. Was all this spoken out loud in 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes and no. It doesn't matter. But there was a feeling of, we're united against the bad guys.
Yeah.
And now we're not. Now we're angry at each other. And how that has permeated society, where it breaks my heart. I think I'll just leave it there, because I could go down that rabbit hole a lot deeper than you can imagine. But let's. Yeah.
We've digressed. Maybe we'll continue this conversation. Continue that topic of conversation at some other point. But yes, I'm with you. Fast forward to 2014, you start your own hospitality and client entertainment firm, company, ClusterFest Events. 11 years later, your clients include, but aren't limited to, Audi of Canada, the New York Mets Radio Network, the iHeart Music Fest, and more. And I have a couple questions with this. Beyond logistics and execution, what do you believe these companies are looking for when they seek out ClusterFest?
Well, yeah, it varies. There's a certain amount of expertise and experience that I can bring to the table. That's I think pretty clear. Relationship marketing is very important, and I think you guys, as the next generation of this, need to keep that in mind. And there is, through your podcast and others like it, there is a community, right? And all that happy horseshit, I like to call it. As long as it's authentic, and being genuine. But when you meet people as I have over the decades now, you make an impression on people, and that's the relationship marketing management thing I'm referring to. You can't put a value on that, period. But in a way, it's kind of everything. In a way,
Mm-hmm.
right? You need to execute and deliver. You can't be a crappy planner and expect to sustain that business. So you have to deliver.
Yeah.
Yes. And that becomes that yes and thing. And I use this with my students. I said, if you're working on a job and you're in the Javits Center here in New York or something, let's say you're doing a trade show. And if anybody in your, has ever done a trade show where you're sitting at a booth or working a booth for 12 hours a day, 5 days in a row, potentially, hopefully not that long, God forbid, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Even 3 days, from 8 a.m. to say 6 or 7 p.m. Then there's a cocktail hour you got to go to. It's a 10 to 16 hour day, and it's a grind. Well, your ownership of that is crucial. So you don't want to be the guy who, on day 3 has a short temper because, well, I'm exhausted. I've been here for 2.5 days already. Sorry. And somebody's trying to engage you for your product or service.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, as a small business owner, I've got to have that. Hey, how are you, man? Everything good? What can I do for you? How can I be a resource for you? That's how I do it. How can I be a resource for you? I work with the soft sell. The more I talk about how great we are and what events we've done and these clients, I could tell you stories. Yes, I could.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the second stage. The first stage is building that relationship quickly to where, hey, I think I'd like to work with this guy or this gal. That's important, like very important, because that first impression, right? You only get that one crack at it, and if you blow that, it's hard to recover.
Yeah.
It so I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. When ultimately your question about why would people come to me? Well, I don't get honestly a lot of inbound. The inbound I get is from word of mouth. Oh, you should talk to Peter at ClusterFest. Oh my God, just a great guy. You love working with him.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That's all. If I get that endorsement, that's value is like 10 of these. Oh, Peter is the consummate professional. He will, profoundly, listen and execute and deliver it. Okay, those are great. In professional world, I've got some of that on my website. Whatever, you can read that. It's great, and I love it. My friends will do that for me. But I have a guy, one I just spoke to because I'm up for a project in White Plains. They want to do a festival. It's like a street festival, circling or grounded in the World Cup, summer 2026 coming up, June 11th to July 19th next summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I met the two ladies who are in charge. We had a great first call, very nice. Again, my goal was, hey, just project confidence and fun. How can I be a resource? What can I do? Well, it followed up with an RFP process, and they went to several. They told me I was one of a few people they were talking to, for operations, right? Like concept to completion, possibly, of this whole sports fest. So I'm like, okay, great. So I got some competition. That's good. And I came as a reference. So that's how it happened. And this is all very current, like this week current. Then they came back to me after I submitted the RFP. We had a week and a half, myself, and competitors who I don't know who they might be. And I'm not going to worry about that. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I got an email back after the holiday Monday. The RFP was submitted on Friday, so a week ago today. Monday was a holiday for most people. Tuesday afternoon, I get an email from the two ladies, and they said, "Hi, Peter. We loved your RFP and would like to schedule an appointment to discuss next steps." I'm like, yay. So, you know, that's answer to your question
Yeah.
is when you can project that. Now we have another meeting, our second like face-to-face is scheduled now for a week from today, next Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I have the job yet, because I think they have to get it green lit internally. So once it's 100% go, well, I'd like to think that I'm going to be the pilot of this program. But until we meet face to face now, I'm going to, keep my caution belt on, and be ready to brace for impact, because there's always the possibility, that's the reality of my experience, that it might not come through. But at least I'm not sorry, we're going another direction, right? That's the other answer you get. Thanks for your response. We liked most of your ideas, very creative, but we're going a different direction, and appreciate it. If if you'd like to stay in touch, there might be another opportunity down the road. That's the rejection, and you typically won't get any more than that in terms of feedback. So that's what I hope for and strive for with my soft sell. Hey, I'd love to be a resource for you. You just need some directional advice or coaching. I can be an event coach for you guys. If you want me to run the whole program, game on. I'd love to. That's what I do. But I'd like to be a resource for you. And that's my sell, 30 seconds or less. That's all you need. And as we get into more and more short attention span, a human condition, short attention span challenges. Most of us have them to some degree. Mm-hmm. We're all multitasking. Oh, no, I'm just looking at my phone. It's okay. I understand. No, you don't. I could tell you from my students in class, and I teach graduate studies in sports and hospitality. They've all got the laptops going. I tell them, hey, the phone, let's put the phone out of reach, turn it off or whatever, shut it down, out of sight, out of reach. I don't want the phone to be a distraction. You need to take a phone call, step out of class, go ahead. I get it. We all are busy. We have things going on. But they all have laptops. And, I've got a big old PowerPoint going most every class, with slides that I just kind of run through and talk about. Mm-hmm. And they're all just buried in their laptops. Yeah. And I've had students tell me, oh, the guy in front of me is playing Pac-Man, or this one's playing, Space Invaders, or whatever the hell, shoot, bang, bang, shoot 'em ups. It's not all the students, but they're doing something else. They could be working on a project, answering emails. They're not locked in on their education.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. They're paying to be there. If they decide to do something else with their time, it used to really bother me. You're not paying attention. Mm-hmm. Is there a problem? But you can't win that in the classroom.
Yeah.
You can't. You just can't. I've even asked some students who've been through 2 or 3 of my classes, how could I possibly handle that if I've got, 3 students in the back of the room looking at each other's screen? This happened 2 weeks ago, and they're looking at each other's laptop, laughing, like almost out loud laughing during the class, not at me, just whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
What do you do? So to connect that here is stay focused, is what I try to do. Stay focused. I've got 30 students in the room. If I lost 3 of them, first of all, I didn't lose them, right? They chose to do that. So I don't want to derail the other 27. So similarly, in the event world, if I've got a great plan, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I've got to stick with my plan and deliver. And if the wind blows, okay, I might have some headwinds. And that's how I look at these 3 or 4 students who are not paying attention at all. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a little gust of headwind. Don't let it shake me off the path.
Yeah.
And in the world of events, often it takes a set of cojones to be confident, and experience will help bring that.
Yeah.
So early on, when I went through basic training in the Air Force, our motto for the squadron was lead, follow, or get out of the way. Or it might have been stay out of the way. But there's only 3 places you can be, right? If you're a leader, lead. Be the leader. That's it. That's your job. If you're a follower, follow. That's your job. Leader tells you to jump. How high? Yes, boss. And that comes into the event world. At the end of this 3 days of the trade show nonsense I mentioned, well, it's that last day. And if the boss, your boss, comes and says, okay, now we got to box all this stuff up and FedEx it back to the office or whatever that is. Oh, man, boss, can we do that tomorrow? I'm exhausted. Where's that guy going in his career or her career? I'm really tired. Can't we just do it later? No, it's like, yes, boss, where's the tape? Let's go. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's all done, you say, what else do we need to do? Be the last one out of there. Even if you can barely stand up. And I've never seen anybody that exhausted that they can't stand up.
Yeah.
But if you are that guy, I tell you, that'll pay off in your career 100 times over.
Mm-hmm. A couple things to, tying it back with what you were saying about students and attention spans and stuff, and also like just general focus. As somebody with ADHD who is now medicated for it, but it's still pretty present in my life, I try and be as present as I can all the time. Like if for any students listening, maybe this would help. Like when I am at school, I say, I'm a student right now. Like my job right now is to soak up this knowledge, meet some people, whatever. When I am I'll make music and stuff. When I'm making music, I'm an artist. When I'm playing tennis, I'm a tennis player. And that sort of helps me be as present as I can in different areas of my life.
Yep.
So yeah,
And that's great to be in the moment, right? In that moment, and hopefully 100%. And there are plenty of distractions and instances, I'll say, where, okay, you might have to do something else simultaneously. If we're talking here and my office phone rings, I might have to pick it up and say, "Hey, Tom, listen, I'm in the middle. Can I call you back? All right, like give me 10 minutes, thanks." Boom. Okay, I can do that and not lose my thought. So we have to manage those things, of course. And that's a silly example, but pretty accurate, I think.
It's the little
But
things.
it's the little things. And if you're like you say, if you're playing tennis or writing music or playing music, whatever it is that brings you. I love to cook. I love to play guitar. There's things that I do in my off time that are entertaining or can consume my thoughts because I need to get away. Also, right? I have a good friend. I won't spend more than a second on it, but he's going through a tough patch. A lot of anxiety, my age, and he's worried about a lot of things. He's retired now. It's like, Johnny, you got a great life. You've got savings. You've got financial concerns don't exist for someone like you. What is it? And in his case, it's an imbalance. You need medication. I know that firsthand. Medication is good.
Yeah.
And if it can help, use it. It's a tool for us. Thank God, right? We've come a long way the last century as a world. So he's trying to get to a better place, but he still has a lot of anxiety, really. And this is a guy who accomplished on a day-to-day basis between, whatever his careers, and he planned all our golf trips and he did everything for us selflessly. And now he's in this place for it's almost a year now where it's like, Johnny, how can we help? And it's hard. Mm-hmm. So, back to short attention span and the rest of that. I'm glad to hear in your case you've addressed it and you're tackling that head on. You're confronting it because it can derail you. I get it. So I would say that for anyone, if you've got issues, whatever they may be, and we all have our issues. We all have our issues. I get angry, anger management, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Just do your best to find balance, in your life, whether it's that specific area. Don't let it consume you. Okay, it's going to probably be there, whatever, but do your best to balance. And that work-life thing is part of that. Work
Mm-hmm.
hard. I'm one of those work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
And, when I was in the city, waiter, bartender world, we'd work a double and Rock Center. I was right in the 30 Rock building downstairs in the late 80s. And we'd hop right up to a old saloon called Hurley's. The building is still there. I think it's now bakery or something. But Saloon Hurley's was a famous place. It has a new location in Manhattan. But anyway, we'd work our double and spend half of our tip money at the bar and do the same thing the next day and the next day. And that's what we did. We worked hard, had a lot of fun, made good money, and we played hard.
Yeah. That's
Would I trade that? Well, first of all, you can't. But at the moment, even I felt like, you know what? This is what we're doing, I don't regret any of it, honestly.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't trade that. I think that's how you live a full life. I think that's what you do when you're young.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
with your friend who's dealing with like sort of whatever imbalance, whether that's a life imbalance, a chemical imbalance, it ties back into also the keep on walking, and also the I don't know where your friend stands on it, but like seek like there's no shame in seeking professional help out.
Agree.
And like I mean me I'm 24. I graduated high school in 2019. I'm a junior in college. I took a couple years. I mean, my family knew that I had ADHD from the time that I was like 8. And from like the time I was a kid and I was, like not micromanaged because there's like a negative connotation to that, but when I was a kid and my family was like, hey, take your meds, I would take my meds consistently. And
Yep.
then when I was in my late teens and whatever, I was like, nah, I don't need to do that. I didn't really see the value in it. And I struggled in high school. I thought I was stupid or whatever. Because, I mean, the education system's a whole nother thing. But at the time, I thought the only measures of intelligence were math, science, history, and English,
Hmm.
and whatever else. And basically, your friend probably definitely has a lot more life experience than me, but it also ties into the sky has never fallen before, because there were times after high school for me where I was so lost and miserable, and like I thought that one day it's just all supposed to click, and then I don't know, when I realized that, I don't know, life is just, there was some grander conclusion it felt like I was going to get to, but life is just crazy, and it's
Yeah.
good to be
Yeah.
that we're here for each other, and we can't act like this shit is normal. like,
Right. Right. And you hit the point nicely there. You know, my buddy Johnny is, he is addressing, he is getting help. They've tried different things, so he's still walking through. He still is. I just personally, you wonder how long it's going to last, because it's been probably close to a year now. And at his age, like I said, he's in his 60s, retired. I just hate to see him go through that.
yeah.
And I don't know, I'll drop a card in the mail. I'm kind of a little old school that way, a greeting card that says, hey, hang in there, pal, thinking of you. So he gets a little something he can open up, hold in his hand. Text is one thing, but, sometimes you have to, do a little extra. And I think, he always acknowledges he doesn't get on the phone much lately. But after a card recently, about a month ago, I had sent another one, and he called me up. We had a good conversation for about a half hour, and he said, he's like, Edie, it's tough. We're trying to balance the meds, the this and that. And he had been on meds for like 20 years.
Mm.
There's like a Prozac, whatever the version of Prozac he was on for, antidepressant and stuff and anxiety. So that changes because the effectiveness can wane after a decade or so. I'm not sure exactly what but I've seen it happen in my personal life, not me, but very close to me. And, you know, I know that he's going to come out of this,
Mm-hmm.
and I certainly believe it will happen. But as I said, it's been a while, and but he's still walking through it. But it's just day to day. It's hard. What do you do when you wake up and you just, I don't, it's hard. It's like
You're
some
not
days,
feeling it. Yeah.
yeah, not feeling it, right. And he was the guy who, every golf tournament, every sporting event, World Series, now we got the ALCS, the NLCS going on. He'd be putting out to our group. We have about 20 guys on a text thing. It's like our personal Facebook chain, whatever you want to call it these days. Johnny'd be like, hey, how about an NLCS pool, whatever, number of games, total runs scored, team ERA, boom, 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 $20 a guy, who wants in? And he'd just do these all the time. And we'd all be, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in. So any given, time of year, there was something to do because Johnny was throwing it out there.
Yeah.
He's down to zero. And again, we're really off the track, but this is real. This is real for you, and it's real for many people. But the good news is you have to confront, and you are confronting. In your case, Tev, and good for you, man. You have to, and I'm really glad to hear all that.
It's the only way, man. And I'm rooting for Johnny. And like also like what I was saying earlier, it's like, oh, I was so uh lost in between high school and then when I
Mm-hmm.
like one day just realized the craziness of life. It's like no, like I mean, we all go through it, and it's
Yeah,
good to be there for your friends. Maybe like just an idea. Maybe set if you reached out to Johnny and set up like an NLCS pool and got something going on for that. Maybe like
yeah,
that's like I feel like one thing that uh like has like cheered me up like with my friends when I've been down in the dumps or whatever, sort of being like almost forced participation in life. like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
I I hear you, and to some degree, he's put a toe back in the water a little bit. Uh, so we're trying to what's the word? Yeah, like guide him into the deeper waters. Just to say, hey, John, the water's nice. Come on in. Well, just afraid I might drown. Whatever. I'm just
yeah,
you
metaphorically.
know metaphorically just like putting that. But I do know and I do believe that when he comes back, it'll be great. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
great for him. It'll be great for us as his buddies who enjoy all of that. Like we feel bad because like, come on, Johnny, please do a pool. Please do a pool. This the World Series is coming up. Can't we do a pool? And we stopped with that, of course, because it's not the time right now to throw that at him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
digress yet again. What you have any other questions for me, Tev?
Yes. Just a
Big
couple.
finish, my man.
We're at an hour and 10 minutes. Time is flying. Um,
I have to make this a two-part episode.
Heck yeah, I'm here for it.
Nice.
Yeah. So rapid fire. We've talked about a lot of things. I like to just keep walking. Uh, Basically, I think that's the overarching theme of this whole episode, career wise,
Yeah.
emotionally. Just keep walking. Um, but yeah, my last question, my two last questions would be: what is your personal favorite thing about ClusterFest?
Well, I love the name,
Yeah.
honestly. And that's a great story. I think that it's something that I feel just happy and kind of proud. The way it happened was I was at dinner with a female colleague at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So more of a professional sort of dinner thing. And I was describing an event to her that I had recently attended. And I said the whole thing was it was just a goddamn clusterfest. And it just kind of came out of my mouth. And we both were like, oh, that's funny. I said, well, you know what I'm saying. It was a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't want to say that. So it just came out that way. So we continued the conversation. Dinner was great, blah, blah, whatever. Get home that night. I went online to register.com, which is, like GoDaddy or one of these. And I grabbed the domain clusterfest.com. It was available and I grabbed it. Subsequent to that, this was back 5 years before I actually started the business. So I secured the domain name and had it, let's say, steeping in my mind as I was going through that period where I decided, you know what, I'm going to launch my own event shop. And I had enough activity and business, already kind of there to say, you know what, let's go official on this. I'm not just helping people and getting paid, kind of under the table. I hope the IRS isn't listening. Russia, if you're listening. But so once I decided, well, okay, well, what's the name of the company? ClusterFest Events. Okay, great. I had clusterfest.com. Then I secured clusterfestivents.com as a backup, and then built a website and all this, again, 5 years later, and pointed it all to that. Being an entrepreneur is also part of that. Being your own boss. There's a lot of scary to that. Being self-employed. Mm-hmm. Believe me, that's tough. I had tried earlier, went back to corporate, kind of came back to this, and now at this point, this 12 plus years, I'm not going back anywhere.
Yeah.
But to Turks and Caicos. So the next part of this story, real quick, is I got a call. This was about, I'm going to say now 7 or 8 years ago now. I got a call from what they call a domain broker, which is just that, somebody who deals in web domain names, buys and sells. So if you want pizza.com, well, somebody owns that domain, right? And people have gone and you speculate on that. You buy that, taylorswift.com. So if I secured that domain name, well, Taylor would have to come buy it from me. And I would just give it to Tay for free because I love her so much. But you get the idea. So anyway, I get a call from a broker. Somebody was interested in clusterfest.com. I said, oh, great. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? So they said, well, they're offering, I think it was like $2,300 for the domain name. Mm-hmm. I'm like, $2,300. And this had happened after I had been recently divorced, moved out of my house, bought a new place in Port Chester where I live and operate now, a home office here. Mm-hmm. And the house, it was a fixer-upper, by design, need a lot of work, and I love it here, it's great, blah, blah. So anyway, he said $2,300. I go, well, let me talk to my partner and see what we're thinking. So, okay, great, I'll get back to you in a week. Because, yeah, a week is good, whatever, click. So my partner is me, myself, and I, right? So we have three of us in the business, but we'll keep it to two. So me, myself. So I came back to her and I said, well, it's $2,300. I don't think. Well, what do you think? I said, well, see what you can do. And meanwhile, I have a couple of people I talked to who had some experience in this area, because you don't want to push the button if there is an opportunity, because I could sell clusterfest.com and have clusterfestivents.com, which is kind of a little more practical because it at least tells us what the business is and what we do, events.
Yeah.
Right. So I had the both. So I said, I don't think that's going to do it. So I said, well, we were thinking, maybe 5,000 each. So 10K. I said, that's kind of, I think for 10K, we could probably get this done. So she goes, $10,000. Well, let me talk to the client and see what I can come up with. I said, okay, great. You see what you can do. And I was set on 10 minimum. My lawyer, good old high school buddy of mine, he's a hugely successful lawyer in New Orleans. He said, you might be able to get 20, but if it's a small business, you don't know. So he goes, if you're comfortable with 10, he said, I think that feels right. Right. So anyway,
yeah.
She called back. Well, the client's willing to go to 8. I'm like, I'm negotiating like $2,000. I'm like, really? So I said, okay. I can tell you now, my partner and I we're pretty firm. 10K. If they're at 8, they're pretty close. That's what I would tell you. So maybe they'll come to 10. If not, I appreciate your interest. Click. Okay, a week or whatever it was comes by. Okay, they've decided 10. They'll do 10. Great. So I got $10,000 for the web domain, shifted all the way full on to ClusterFestEvents.com on the back of my house with the 10K. Done. Win-win. Could I have gotten 20? I don't know. Now, if you go to ClusterFest.com now, you'll see it's a comedy festival in San Francisco. I think it's owned by parent company, either Paramount or I think it's Paramount. Could be Peacock. I'm not sure. But one of those. And I think it kind of floundered, but I do believe it still exists in San Francisco, ClusterFest, as a comedy thing. And good for them.
Neat.
Good for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's never been a conflict. A couple of people have come to me. Oh, ClusterFest Events. I love your festival. I've had 5 or 6 random emails, the last 8 years. Okay, that's nothing. Yeah. So no conflict, no nothing. I got what I needed out of that project at the time. So back to being happy. I'm happy that I've been able to. And the other part of that, honestly, Taff, was when I got divorced and had to secure a mortgage for my new house.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that on the basis of my business.
Yeah, that had to be a very freeing time.
Yeah, big time. And that's it. The rest of the job that we talked about today here, that's foundational career skills. I'm not perfect, dude. I'm not perfect. I think I'm very good at what I do, and I still have more to learn, and I continue to learn. But I also know that when I compare apples to apples, my colleagues in the industry, I've seen the complete spectrum of behavior from awful to amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say I'm a lot closer to awful, right? Freudian slip. I'm a lot closer to amazing than I am to awful, and I'm happy with that. And the people who know me will validate that. And the haters are going to hate, as Tay would say. I just got kick it off.
Now, all right, we are at let's see, we're at almost an hour and 20 minutes here, so I'm gonna let you go very soon. Another question: did you listen to the new Taylor Swift album?
Oh yeah, a couple of times probably. And I was in the car. I had a long drive. There's a new Sirius XM Taylor Swift channel for this month, I think, of October, whatever it was. Used to be Pitbull's Global's nonsense, and now it's Taylor Swift channel. So I was driving this week. I had a 75-mile drive each way, and I listened to it in the car, and I'm very happy with her effort. I think it's terrific. I'm not going to be I'm not really crazy. I love the lyrics to this one. I don't go that granular, but my music tastes are quite varied. From the Beatles to the Killers to Kings of Leon to Leo Kottke to Tom Waits, Taylor Swift, Alanis Morissette. These are all top of mind favorites. But I've got a lot, and I think what Taylor Swift does and is. I mean, I admire. She's been in the business 20 years. She's only 36 years old.
That's true. More than half her life.
Crazy, right? And at this level of success, and to secure the rights to her own catalog, which is a big deal in the music industry.
Yeah.
Good for her. And I think creatively, is she the best songwriter ever? No, I'm going to say no. I'll just say no. But she's a very, very, very good. She's closer to amazing than awful.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite songwriters? I don't know. If I had to pick a group in my lifetime, I'd go with the Beatles. I mean, I think it's tough to argue against that. But if you ever met a Rush fan, they might tell you that Rush is the greatest band ever. I'm like, oh boy. And I got into an argument with somebody at a bar once, and I'm like, wow, you people are crazy. You're just crazy. So that was a one-off. So we'll leave that one there. But I am a Swiftie. I'm not hardcore. I have not seen her live. I've seen Springsteen a dozen times. I've seen the Killers 5 or 6 times. So I'll go see the ones I love. And people are like that with Fish and the whole Grateful Dead experience. That's a little more fueled in different ways. But I always go. One of my favorites is Martin Sexton, if you've heard of him.
Haven't
Uh,
That's the first person you've named that I haven't heard of.
yeah, Martin Sexton is a singer songwriter. He's been around 30 years now. Uh, awesome. I've seen him, probably 15 or 20 times. Look him up. I don't know who to compare him to, but singer songwriter. He's not, it's more, ooh, I want to say like, you think of great singers like James Taylor or Jim Croce or, that kind of person, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not quite, I won't say that level. I think he's that level, but he's more, well, he's just not that level of success, I would say.
Yeah,
Does he
he's
deserve it? I would argue he does. Yeah.
an underrated guy. I've been listening to a lot of James Taylor lately, and James Taylor
Okay.
has got some bangers. I've been listening to a lot of older stuff actually over the past couple days. What was I found something. Oh yeah, Vienna by Billy Joel. That song is
Okay.
fantastic.
Sure. Sure.
Also, I mean, I like the Beatles, and we might be here forever if we take this conversation to its full extent. But I feel like Queen is better
Queen,
than the Beatles.
absolutely. Well, I wouldn't say better, but Queen is amazing. I saw them twice in the 80s
Oh.
in Germany, of all places, when I was stationed over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently, this is really silly, but I went to a Queen cover band thing at Terrytown Music Hall last month.
Hmm.
And it was it was okay.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's
It's
hard to beat
hard to
Freddie
cover
Mercury, man.
Freddie Mercury. The lead guy was like, eh. When you have to ask the audience to like stand up and clap and get out of your seats, you deadbeats. Like he almost was berating the crowd a little bit. I'm like, no. And then during the intermission, they're playing all the hits, Sweet Caroline and, Born to Run and classics.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at intermission going, why don't we just sit here and listen to this? Because the Queen thing was not, again, you can't do Freddie Mercury. It's hard to cover the Beatles. It's hard to cover Stevie Wonder. I love Stevie Wonder
Yeah.
from this entire catalog. Uh, you know, it's impossible. So why, unless you're that good, like the Fab Four is a famous Beatle cover band. They've been doing this for 20 years. There's
Mm-hmm.
also a band around here, and they play a lot on the island called Big Shot. And they're a Billy Joel cover band, do a great job. Their lead singer, Mike somebody, is actually now part of Billy's band. He
Hmm.
was the lead who sang all the Billy Joel in the band Big Shot. And he got into Billy's band because he was that good. So
Wow.
it's great experience, yeah. And what's his name is great. Adam Lambert. I would go see Adam Lambert in the Queen
Mm-hmm.
space. I think he's an amazing talent.
That would be cool.
Uh, that would be very cool. So again, the world of music is so broad. Another guy who I promise you haven't heard of is Foy Vance.
Never heard of Foy Vance.
Foy Vance, not to be confused with Vance Joy,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Vance Joy is another guy, but Foy Vance, Foy. Look him up.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I believe he's from Northern Ireland. He is, again, singer songwriter. Wow, just powerful, poignant, melodic, all of that,
Hmm.
all of that, and that's where Martin Sexton fits into that category of wow. So those two guys, it's my gift. It's my gift to you today, Tab.
Amazing. I'm gonna check it out. I appreciate it. Have you ever heard of Leon Bridges?
Yeah, sure, sure. Oh yeah,
I've been listening to a good bit of his stuff lately,
yep. He's got a
and
lot of soul. He's a little bit of that soulful, folky thing. Leon Bridges is terrific.
yeah.
I'm a big fan. We have a local station here, 107.1 The Peak, and it's their tagline is world class rock. So it's really off the beaten path rock. It's not classic rock. It's like that Leon Bridges. They will play a little Foy Vance. That's how I met Foy Vance, or was introduced to him via their station. Um, I'm actually sponsoring the costume contest at the Peak Halloween party at the Captain Lawrence Brewery coming up
Oh,
this Saturday, October 25th.
be
Tickets
there
are
or be
still available.
square.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's on the air now, and they got a great roster of DJs. Chris Herman and is the program director over there. He's a great guy, I heard, and look forward to meeting with him and some of the other guys on the team, their coach, and What's the other guy? The afternoon guy is terrific. Also, they're all good. I'm a huge fan. It's just because they mix up the music. REM is another one that I listen to a
REM
lot.
is great. My mom loves REM. When I think of
Yep.
like my
Yep.
mom's music, I think like REM, Prince,
Yeah.
and
There you go. Prince. My wife is a big Prince fan. Big Prince fan.
love Prince.
Yeah, there's just a ton of great music. A buddy of mine has a blog. I'll plug him, Billy Goldstein.
Billy
S
Goldstein.
So Much Great Music is the name of the blog. So Much Great Music, SMGM. And I wrote a piece for him. Oh, it's probably a year ago now, but on Tom Waits, and also one of my favorites of all time. Tom Waits, just wow. If you've not heard or don't know Tom Waits, holy mackerel,
Tom Waits.
holy
You
mackerel.
know, I pride myself on the amount of artists that I know, and Tom Waits is another one. So we got Foy Vance, Tom Waits,
Martin Sexton,
Martin Sexton. We'll send some
and
music back and forth. How's that?
absolutely. The one Tom Waits you should immediately dive into is called The Piano Has Been Drinking.
The piano has been drinking. Heck
Just
yeah.
start your Tom Waits experience with that song. That's how it happened for me. In Lake Ronkonkoma, 1976, I believe it was. And I heard that song on the radio, and I'm like, I got to get to know more of this guy.
Huh.
It'll make an impact on you. Hopefully, a good one. And then his catalog again. Tom is in his early 70s now. He's got a half a century of recording.
Wow.
Yeah, dive into Tom Waits head first. He is a genius. A
Hell
genius.
there. I will do that. I think I'm gonna wrap right here. We're approaching an hour and a half. Man, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate how open you were about everything. It's a great
Um,
conversation.
my pleasure, Taff. Thank you. Thanks. I enjoyed every minute, and I think you got a two-part episode here, and it's then you can see how your audience, if they come back for part two, that'll be our litmus test.
Heck
Will they
yeah.
come back for part two? There's your little.
Our little test. I'm here for it, man. We'll make it happen. And
Too fun.
anything that you want to leave the people with before we officially wrap up?
Well, I mean, I hadn't pre plugged anything other than the ones I had plugged directly. It was just kind of funny. I'm not a plug guy, but these are my
Yeah.
friends. You know,
Yeah.
you got so much great music. You got Eddie Pepitone. You know, I have to tell you what these people are doing because they're really really important in my life. Um, and thought is really yes and you know work hard, play hard, stay focused. That's all it is. Some of these things are sound very simple, but in practicality, they can be challenging. So do stay on the high road. That's the other one I use a lot. It's
I
just
like
stay
that.
on be the better person. Any given encounter, have some empathy. All right,
Mm-hmm.
now we're getting too far down the road here. But it's all of those things. Those five or so things are crucial and will guide you for your future and your future successes. That I can assure you. That all of those things have been part of my life and my career, and that's what's brought me to here. Am I a multimillionaire entrepreneur? No, I'm not. But you know what? Uh, I've had a terrific career that I'm beyond proud of, and yeah, I've made some money, of course. So it depends what your ambitions are.
Yeah.
But I think all of us to be a good person, at the end on your tombstone, what's it going to say? Peter was a good person or a great person. The joke we use with family, I'll leave you with this one, is
Mm-hmm.
whenever we have a family or friend gathering, there's always somebody who checks out first, right? Hey, gotta go, guys. Gotta, head out. All right, Tom, see you. The minute Tom's like 10, 20 yards away, not even, we all go, we thought he'd never leave so that he could hear it. It's a joke,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's also sometimes very true. You know, so don't be that person that they're glad you left. And one of my
Exactly.
best friends, Brendy, he's going to put that on my tombstone. It's going to say, I already know this. Sadly, it's going to say, we thought he'd never leave.
That's awesome. All right, so yeah, don't be the person that you thought would never leave.
There you go.
Empathy, Billy Goldstein, Eddie Pepitone, and just keep walking.
Just keep walking, Johnny. That's for Johnny. You got it. You got it.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Johnny. And
All right, Tef. Hey, really, thanks for having me, my friend.
yeah.
I look forward to seeing this when you chop it up. Nice.
Yes, I will send it over to you.